see how we all feel at the end, shall we?
Okay, so we're recording. So just to let everybody know, we've got today Andrew Bridgen, Karl Deans and Sovereign Pete of the Sovereign Society, and myself, Karen Dodge, who runs the Wise Women Weekdays. Welcome, gentlemen, to this evening. Let's see what we have to talk about.
Good evening. Good evening. But I say it again, Andrew. It's a pleasure to speak to you. It really is. I said earlier that anyone that is speaking out at the moment and trying to spread the message on, don't like to use the word corruption so much, but some of the corruption that is going on around us, that is now for everyone to see, and to be able to speak out on any platform is a brave thing to do, because we do get a lot of backlash. And I think that me and Pete do get some backlash as well at times when we're only just trying to share the correct message in the correct manner and the correct way. But unfortunately, there are a lot of men and women out there that are very much indoctrinated to the system that we live in, and they only survive by being part of that system, and they can't seem to live without that legal system being in place. Again, one thing that's I'd touch on is that because of, obviously, we've all know about Agenda 30 and the 50-minute cities that are apparently around the corner. When men and women are living in flats in cities, they don't have any inner standing on how to make their own food, how to have legal standing across their own paperwork, how to defend their rights. They're just following the system of commerce that we live in. So people are waking up, but it's going to take a lot more waking up for them to really realise what's truly going on. The reason why I approached Karen for this meeting is, again, just to do some share of knowledge, and really see what kind of doors it opens in the near future with anything that we do together. We are getting a few farmers contact the Sovereign Project looking for assistance. I'm sure that you know, Andrew, that the system we live in is a world of commerce, right? Everything is contract and business. I use farmers as an example, that everything within their farm, they're being dominated by mega corporations because they're having to register. They believe they have to register. They feel they're being forced into registration, which is in some ways giving away a lot of their authority on their farms, as an example. And it's creating so much red tape for them. And what's going on at the moment within that sector, 6,000 farms have closed, 19 farmers have committed suicide, and it just feels like the Agenda 30 is pushing more chemically enhanced food our way, and we are losing the ability to grow our own food and live a more healthier life as such. So this meeting today is, again, just to do shares of knowledge and to see if there's any joined up thinking we can do, if there's any doors that we can open for each other, and how we can move forward with our knowledge that we can share.
Just before you gents joined from the Sovereign Society, Andrew was telling me that he's a member of the farm. You are actually a member of the Farmers Food Freedom?
No, I'm not. I told you I wasn't. No,
you're not a member. Okay, but it's a political
party.
I do.
I can introduce you to some people who linked into the farmers. I can introduce you to people who are linked into the sovereignty and sovereign community council formation. I can do all that. What Karl said about obviously the backlash. Well, yeah, but there's an old saying, isn't it, that you get most flack when you're over the target. There's no doubt about it. That only reinforces to me that what I'm saying and what you're saying is absolutely right. I've been doing quite a bit of research as a sort of side project into the area you're talking about, common law. I also think that's why there's a big pushback against the English flag and being English, because it's English common law, and it's the English Bill of Rights, which they really don't want anyone to talk about, because I think they're riding a coach and horses through it every single day, and they really don't want people to know about that.
Yeah, that's true. One of the things, I don't know if you know too much about the Sovereign Project. I will give you a little brief overview. I set it up in 2020. There was just two of me and a friend of mine called Joanna. And it's absolutely exploded. We've got thousands of members now. We've got members in 75 different countries, because sovereignty isn't just about the UK, it's global. So our membership is absolutely exploding. I think 10 people a day join the Sovereign Project, just to give you an idea. Now, It's more, yes, higher than that now, isn't it? So, yeah, we're very busy. So we've got what, 75 people now working in our top team at the top there, Karl, trying to, because it's huge. We've got emails coming in. So what we tend to do is we educate people on the system of commerce that people don't realize they're operating within. And we explain contract law, how contracts are supposed to work. We explain jurisdictions. Do you know, Andrew, have you heard about the legal fiction? Is that something that you heard about? And the birth certificate being secure? Yep. Oh, fantastic. Now, that saves us a lot of explaining of what we're doing.
Yeah, so, yeah. It would appear that we're in, as I said to Karl earlier, off camera, that we're, or off recording, that we're sold into placed into bonded slavery the moment our birth certificates are registered.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm glad you know this. This makes it a lot easier for me to get through all the explaining on what we're doing. So, yeah, a lot of people have woken up to, and it's not just in the UK corporation, it's in all countries. Every single country operates a very similar system. So you probably know as well that because we're operating in a system of commerce, we don't actually use money per se. We're actually using a debt and credit system based on a foreign situs trust that was set up when we were born. This is all tied into the birth certificate. So layman's terms, yes, what's going on is that the birth certificate is basically a securitized instrument. Every time you sign documents within the banking system and with governments and the courts, they're securitizing it, and they're just basically generating more credit out of thin air. This is effectively how governments fund themselves. A lot of people think that governments fund themselves through taxation. They don't. Governments fund themselves through the credit of the people. So the way it works, the average person doesn't know any of this. They don't know how this works at all. But because a lot of people have registered to vote, they have registered property, they've registered houses, for example. They've consented to this system, and they have allowed the government to use their signature to securitize, let's call them documents, to create new credit. This is what the national debt is. So a lot of people didn't know what the national debt is. The national debt is credit that the government owes the people. But the government has flipped the script, and they've got people brainwashed into thinking we owe the national debt, but that's not how it works. Taxation is actually used to service the debt. It's actually used to pay the interest on the debt that the government owes us. So this is a very, very complicated system for the average person to comprehend or even understand. And we do courses where we're educating people on this, like bills of exchange, double entry bookkeeping, all this knowledge is what we share with others, get them educated. So a lot of people are waking up to this, realizing that their mortgages aren't mortgages because they are in fact creditors of their own mortgage. I don't know if you yourself have a mortgage on any of your properties, but you are in fact
they've taken all my money off me, unfortunately, through the very corrupt judicial system, through lawfare. So I end up when I came into Parliament, I was a multi-millionaire living in a mansion of 14 acres of gardens with a nice 1805 rectory, a modest 9-bedroom, 11-bathroom property, and now I'm renting a 2-bedroom cottage.
Yeah. Oh wow! Well, we're going to have to get that back for you then. So,
interestingly, because I'm a troublemaker, they targeted me. So I'm the only MP had to sell any property at the HS2 scam, which is just a property grab. It's got nothing to do with building a railway, and they gave me what they thought was fair compensation, which was $500,000 less than the property was worth, and $360,000 less than I'd paid for it 5 years before.
Criminal.
Is it feasible, Pete, when you said we'll have to get that back for you? Is it feasible?
Absolutely,
it is. Okay.
Yes. I mean,
fingers crossed.
Well, a whistleblower from inside HS2 told me afterwards that when the routing came to the routing, they would have put a loop around my house if they could have done.
Well, I mean, I can very briefly explain what went on with that, because a lot of people think they own the house.
That's right.
But they don't. So they actually, all they have is the use of a title that's operating in a system of commerce. Now, the good news is when you learn this stuff, and it does take a long time to study, but I can educate people quite quickly on this. Once you understand it, you realize that you've actually been scammed. And once you realize you've been scammed, you can get all your assets back. Now, the beautiful thing is people are learning this on a rapid pace and our numbers are growing. So briefly, I won't go too deep into this, but what it is people have got to understand what is referred to as trust law. Trust law is basically when you take an asset, you place a title upon it, and then you split the title.
And it's the highest level of law is trust law.
It is, especially in the legal system. You can't break a trust. You can't do that. You are violating the sovereignty of the person who actually put the trust together. So you're absolutely right. You can't do that. But the way a trust works is that an asset, it normally was originally done with deeds. Okay. So normally what would happen is someone actually did physically own the soil. Therefore, they could claim it as their land. What land actually means is a jurisdiction placed upon the soil, which would be the man's jurisdiction. So he can now claim it. He would use an affidavit. He would use that to create a deed. And now that is his. And that deed would represent him owning the physical land, the physical soil. Now he can place that into trust. Now, once he places that into trust, the title is then split. This is what the average person doesn't know. So what goes on is that the controlling interest and the equitable title of the title stays with the trust. And then someone else just gets the user rights. So that would be like a beneficiary. So the beneficiary doesn't own it. They don't know the equitable title. They don't even have the controlling interest of the title, but they have use of, so they can use it. So an example would be, let's say you rent. The landlord owns the house. He has the equitable title and the controlling interest, but you have the right to live there. The landlord does not. So that's how splitting the title works. Now, what's happened is that the UK corporation, and it is a corporation, and it's been going on for several decades, in fact, for a few centuries now. What they've been doing is they have been creating a system of commerce where people have been tricked into buying a title that they control. So you take the land registry, for example. Okay.
What you're saying is even the people who think they're freeholders are only really leaseholders.
Correct. In fact, you're absolutely correct. They are. Because the title freehold, it means you're free to hold something. And you go, what is it I'm actually holding? It's not the land. That's right. You are holding a bit of paper. That's what you're holding. And by the way, they will tell you this when you buy the house. Because when you say you're in the market to buy a house, where do you go? You go to an estate agent. And they're telling you, you go, hang on a minute, that's an estate agent. So an agent means that they are working for a principal at the top. That's where the authority is coming from. So they're an agent for someone else. And they're selling you an estate. Oh, okay. So we're not talking about property then. And then what happens is they will sell you tenure. It'll say, you can look at any website now that sells houses and it'll say tenure and it'll tell you freehold, leasehold. And you go, what does tenure mean? And of course, it means the right to hold. So now they do tell you all this. So actually what you're buying is just a piece of paper and you've become the holder in due course. You don't own anything. So you're just holding a piece of paper for a while that grants you, remember, if anything is granted to you, it comes from a higher authority, and it grants you privileges, and it also actually applies charges to you. So now you've got tax to pay, and there's limitations. For example, this is the brainwashing part when it comes to land. I will ask the average person, and I'll say to them, do you own your property? And they go, yes, mine. I paid the mortgage. It's all gone. It's mine. I own it outright. And I go, fantastic. And then I'll say to them, I noticed you had an extension put on the back. And he goes, yeah, I had that done last year. And I'll go, right. I'll say, did you actually get planning permission to get that done? And they'll go, yes, I did. Yes, I got planning permission. And I'll think, you're a moron. You've literally just told me that you do own the property and you don't own the property. Which is it? If you owned the property, you wouldn't need planning permission to build on it. If you're actually getting planning permission, it means someone else owns the property, not you. So you've got to get permission from someone higher up to build upon it. So it's this mental breakdown that people have got to get past. They've got to get past this slave mentality. And this is where a lot of the farmers are failing because they don't realize they've been tricked into this system of commerce. But going back to your problem, here's the thing. If you've actually bought the house, you're the creditor of the money that bought it. And when you filled in a mortgage contract's not a debt contract. A mortgage contract is a facilitation of credit. So what you've done with the mortgage company, you've allowed them to facilitate your credit for you. So they've created that money out of thin air, which is your credit. And by doing so, they create what is called a promissory note. You've probably heard of promissory notes. A lot of people are learning about these, and I'll show you one right here. Here's a promissory note. This is the Bank of England's promissory note. It's got Bank of England written on it.
Another bit of paper.
Yeah, a piece of paper that's worthless. In fact, it's worth less than less because it's tax to pay. But anyway, so what they'll do is they'll create a promissory note in your name, it's your credit, and this will be referred to as a mortgage note. You can look this up online, you'll find them. This mortgage note goes to...
And that's a death grip, a mortgage.
Mortgage, yes, it's a death pledge. So they say mortgage, which is absolutely correct. It's a death pledge. But you've got to ask yourself, what is the death pledge? Because you've paid for the house yourself, okay? You don't have to pay anything. You're the creditor, remember. You bought the big mansion and all the rest of it. You bought it with your credit. So what are you actually pledging to, by death, to pay back? You're actually pledging to pay back the service charge that the mortgage company is charging you to facilitate your own credit. And you go, why would I even do that? I wouldn't do that. This is insane. This is the average person doesn't understand this. So going back to the mortgage, this is how it works. So the mortgage note is created. It's done in credit from your foreign situs trust, because we spoke about that earlier. That is then given to the Bank of England. The Bank of England then converts it into these notes. These are Bank of England promissory notes. Okay, you use that to buy the house. There's paperwork involved. This is where stamp duty comes in, because a stamp is placed upon the paperwork. So you get charged for that. But the mortgage company do more than that. They don't just deal with the mortgage note. No. They turn around and say, well, you might not pay the service charge. So they'll get you to actually create a bond for the same value of your house. So let's say your house was $500,000. That's the mortgage note. They'll get you then to write for a bond for another $500,000, which they will use. And they'll say, if you don't pay the service charge, they'll use that bond to get the payment from you. They'll even create the mortgage contract. So the mortgage contract is the promise that you made, the death pledge to pay the service charge at interest. So they're going to charge you interest as well. But it gets worse than that, because you probably heard the term mortgage-backed securities. Probably heard that swimming around. Especially, I looked into this a few years ago when the pension companies started to collapse a few years ago. I was looking into that. So the mortgage company will sell the mortgage that you signed to a pension company. And guess what? If you take out a pension and you're making monthly payments on your pension, you're paying the mortgage that's yours in the first place. So this is how it all works. It's all stacked up. And this system is making the banking system 3 times the value of your house. Now, I'm going to get back to your problem where they took all this off you. They can't do that. Mortgage company can't do that. The reason is if they foreclose, and foreclosure just means terminating the contract, okay? So if they foreclose, they go, yeah, no problem. Okay, you can foreclose on me. I don't mind. The foreclosure means you no longer pay the mortgage company, all right? So you don't have to make monthly payments anymore. But here's the thing. They are supposed to return to you all those documents. So you're supposed to get back your mortgage note, your bond, which is the insurance, and the mortgage contract. All those 3 have to be returned back to you. And here's the kicker. You get to keep the house. The average person doesn't know this. This is how it actually works. Because the average person thinks...
Well, I've paid the mortgage off a house before, and I never got any of the paperwork back.
No. I bet you never asked for it either.
No.
I have.
You had to.
I asked for mine recently because I just paid off my debt, and they say it's all digitalized now. You don't need the paperwork.
It gets even better. Because here's the thing. You probably heard this terminology before. The paperwork is the court. Okay, so in these courts that we operate in today, they are administrative, okay? It's paperwork only, okay? So the paperwork is the court. Doesn't matter what you actually say in that courtroom, that's irrelevant. The paperwork is the court. You'll ask any judge. If you've got any friends who are judges or barristers or anything like that, ask them that question. Is the paperwork the court? They go, yes, it is. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Land registry, if you ask for the deed back for your house, okay, with land registry, they will say, like what they said to Karen, they'll say, oh, no, it's all digital now, it's all digitized. Oh, thank you very much for telling me that, because guess what they've just told me? They told me they don't have the original deed. They don't have the original paper. Oh, thank you very much. Now, if they don't actually have the original paperwork, the deed to your house, guess what? The house is up for grabs, isn't it? I can actually go to the land registry and say, well, if you've actually lost it and all you have is a digital copy, that's not got any legal standing. That means I can now claim the house free and clear. So this is trying to educate.
It's an interesting scenario with HS2.
Yep.
The house had cost me 2.1 million plus 100,000 for the fixtures and fittings, because they're all brand new carpets, all new bathrooms, all new kitchens, and then obviously I paid 110,000 stamp duty.
Yeah.
And then I spent about 120 on it, putting in the stable block and the menage, and I got paid 5 years later 1.89.
Mm-hmm.
They said that's all it was worth, and I had to sell it because I was getting divorced, and a judge had said you must sell it to HS2, because I couldn't sell it to anybody else because it was going to have a railway put right through the front garden. But that never happened, as I predicted. But what they actually did as well, the government did, is they took off the price off the land registry that I'd paid 5 years before. They took that off, because then they put a rumour out saying Andrew sold his house to the government and made a fortune. And of course, that didn't work. If you could look on the land registry and see that I paid all that money, and also see what they'd paid me 5 years later. So I wrote to the government, I wrote to the minister at the time when I was an MP and said, why have you done this? And he came back with some rubbish answer about we just wanted to leave the most recent price on. I mean, that was not true. And then, to add insult to injury, this all happened in 2014 when they took the house off me.
Mm-hmm.
In 2021, so 7 years later.
Yes.
And I knew that they'd rented the house out to someone for about 3 years, and then it had been empty again.
Yep.
It's a big house. And my eldest son rang me at Christmas. He's working in America. He lives in America now. And he said, I've got a problem, Dad. My credit rating shot to pieces, and no one will even rent me an apartment in America because I've got a bad credit rating. I said, well, why is that? He said, well, there's £7,500 worth of unpaid gas bills from the old rectory at Appleby Magna from 2020, 2021, 2022. How
can that affect your son?
Well, I got to the bottom of it. I was an MP at the time. I got to the bottom of it, and HS2 had not paid the gas bills once the house was empty, not got a tenant in it.
Okay.
And they
dumped it on your son.
They told to put a bad credit rating on me to stick the gas bills on Mr. Andrew James Bridgen, like 5 years, 6 years after they bought the property.
Right.
But my eldest son, unfortunately for him, his initials are Alexander James Bridgen. So he's exactly the same. He was 15 when we left that property.
Okay.
And so British Gas decided to stick £7,500 worth of unpaid gas bills on his credit rating.
Oh.
I mean, they paid him compensation, but I mean, the whole thing, I mean, that's like selling a car and 7 years later getting the parking tickets and the speeding fines registered to you. I mean, none of that was by accident. None of that was by accident.
No.
I was going to say, I would have sued him into oblivion, but if he got his compensation, okay. But
well, you've got to pick your battles, haven't you? That's the thing.
Oh, that was an easy one to sue. That one. That's an easy case. I mean, they can't do that. This is
They did it. They did it.
Well,
and
they can't, but they do. Exactly. They can't, but they do.
And British Gas, one of their directors told me that they'd written to HS2 every month for 3 years, more than 3 years, and they'd never had an answer of who to send the bill to. But how they suddenly decided, well, what we'll do is we'll just stick it on a previous owner.
Yeah, they can't do that.
And then got the wrong
owner.
AJ Bridgen.
They probably got the wrong readings as well, so it probably wasn't, you know, the amount that they claimed is owed, because I've been in a similar situation.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I just cover when people say, when I say they can't do that, I'm talking legally they can't, okay? Because there's three areas: lawful, legal, and criminal. Lawfully, the government can't do anything because they don't deal in law anyway. Legally, they can't do anything because there's no actual official consent. So legally, they can't do a lot of this stuff. Criminally, they can do whatever they want, just a bunch of criminals. So yes, so when I say people can't do that, I'm saying
I've come to the conclusion that the court system, the judicial system, is allowing organised crime to happen.
Yes.
In front of us. Yeah, and we know it, and that many of us know that, but it's still happening. So what I think Pete is saying, legally they can't do it, but they're doing it anyway, and we have to stand up and
they can't legally do it, but they're doing it.
They're doing it.
They're doing it anyway. Yeah, absolutely, 100% correct. Yeah. I'm glad we're all on the same page, because this is where the Sovereign Project comes into play. The problem we have is trying to educate people out there of what's going on, because they're so dumbed down. They don't even understand contract law. They don't even know what legal means. So when I try and explain to them, I says, look, you've basically got a bunch of criminals out there who are just decimating innocent people, taking their houses, putting them into prison, all this sort of stuff. The average person can't even comprehend it because they don't understand how it should work. So this is what we do, is we educate people on how it should work. So like yourself, you can actually see the criminal behavior. I'm assuming you know about the council tax fraud, because that's all being exposed now.
No contract. There's no contract. No VAT.
Yeah. I mean, the fraud is staggering. The fact that there is no contract with the council.
And they're all limited companies now.
Yes. It's like McDonald's, isn't it? McDonald's will just sending you a bill out of willy-nilly and just, oh, you've got to pay it. And I don't remember ordering all those Big Macs.
I wouldn't eat one of those, to be honest.
But yes.
if they gave them me for free, I'm not eating them.
I'm with you on that. But yes, so I'm glad you know about the council taxing. So we've got so many people waking up to that, and lots of people fighting it, because they are sick and tired of being absolutely ripped to pieces and extorted.
Well, it would appear that the Labour government have got more plans for taxing people's property.
It's insane.
Could be a property tax at sort of 0.51%. My plans would be, if I had the position to do it, and I'd be interested in what you think about this, is that we get rid of every tax we have currently, and just move on to a probably something about 0.25% banking transaction tax, where every transaction that goes through the bank in the UK is 0.25% of tax taken on the payer and the payee. People with the most money, who transact the most money, pay the most tax. Most people will pay very little. And I calculated on the transactions that go through the UK banking system, we'd have considerably more money than we raise from all the taxes, but it'd be a very broad base, and it's almost impossible to escape from it. If you want to transact in the UK, you'd have to pay the transaction tax. If you were transacting with an entity that was, the receiving bank was not in the UK and not in the system, you'd have to pay 0.5%, because obviously you were not going to get the other half the money. If you wanted to take cash out the bank, you'd be taxed 0.25% on withdrawal, and then 0.25% when you put it back in the bank. No tax between accounts that you in the same name or entity. So if it's a husband and wife or business, and you're moving money between your own bank accounts, there'd be no tax on that. But apart from that, I quite like it. I can't imagine that some people are going to like it, because they quite like keeping the people absolutely under the yoke. I mean, for me, taxation and the confiscation of people's private wealth. I mean, I realised quite a long time ago that, and I was brought up in a very poor household where we didn't even have mains electricity till I was 11 years old, and I've been tremendously wealthy, and now I'm poor again, and on paper. And wealth does not buy you friends, happiness, or health. It
No.
gets you choices. And my definition of real poverty is people who just don't have any choices. And this
Correct.
is all, and choices are free. That's freedom.
Mm.
And taking away people's money, their disposable income, is just eroding their freedom all the time.
Yes, it's an oppression. It's oppression. That's what people are absolutely under the thumb, and they're struggling to put the heating on.
And I was shocked, originally being elected as a Conservative MP, and then to be part of a government that were putting taxes up to the highest level in 70 years since the Second World War. And then, of course, we've got a Labour government who've come in and put them up further.
Yeah.
They're basically leaving the people with pocket money.
Yes, and the public can take that as well. I mean, here's the good news, is that taxation is actually contractual. Can't be forced to pay it. Okay. In fact, the government don't. They don't force you to pay any tax whatsoever. It is all contractual. But you have to learn how to read legalese to spot the contract.
Some people have got out of paying taxes, certain taxes, by saying, I don't support the government's action, or we may be paying for war and terrorism, and I don't, I don't have to support that. So therefore, you can't assure me that my money won't get used for those purposes. Therefore, I don't have to pay you.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's even more simple than that, because to be able to pay any corporation like the UK, I have to see the contract. And if I did not sign a contract, then I cannot be forced to pay it, because that turns me into a slave. And it actually violates their own Slavery Act. And here's the difference, is the average person does not know the difference between force and enforce. Because I've said this many, many times, the average person is illiterate. So they don't know what words are, they can't read. Force means making someone pay something or do something when they are not obligated. That's a crime. Enforce means you're enforcing a policy, a contract, which means the person is obligated. This is why it's police enforcers, policy enforcers. That's what the police do. And they hold office. That's why they're police officers. So they will, if you read any tax legislation, they are always using the word enforce. It's all enforce this, enforce that. And I go, yeah, not a problem, but I need to see the contract that I signed that's accepted the obligation to pay. I mean, if the farmers knew that, and we're trying to educate the farmers, that'd be it. No such thing as inheritance tax, because all the farmers have to do is say, well, hang on a minute, where's the contract? You can't be forced to pay it. So we educate our members with that.
Have you actually been to court and had this tested?
Not yet, but the pressure's building. Let's put it this way, because what's happening, I'm part of a massive network.
My experience is that these judges just quite happy to disregard evidence. They don't fancy basically rewrite the law in a courtroom to suit themselves. And Tony Blair left them basically untouchable for any decision they want to make.
Correct. And
anybody who's got that level of power, or any power without any accountability, I mean, it's just corrupt.
That's right. That's right. Now, yeah, you're absolutely right on that. I mean, we've seen some horrendous things going on. We've seen some stories where the judges are just throwing out their own rules. They're not following their own processes. In fact, I don't want to go too deep into personal circumstances, but I have seen a judge where he's completely dismissed the Bill of Rights. What Bill of Rights, he says. Even though the actual symbol on the wall is there that displays the Bill of Rights. What Bill of Rights? That's how bad it's getting. In fact, I've got some solicitor friends who I can't name, and they have seen things in the courtroom that is absolutely shocking them to the court and going, this is out of hand. These judges are just absolutely beyond control. Again, this is where we come into, because we have the ability, well, we're trying to educate enough people, well, we can actually audit the court. So when you go into court, you're not going in alone anymore. You're going to have a team of auditors, and everything will be noticed.
And what standing have these courts actually got?
None. None at all. Absolutely right. They've got no standing, no legal standing. The paperwork's got no signatures on it. There's no names on any of it.
No stamps on lots of it.
Yes, there's no stamps. I mean, we're trying to educate people to see this with their own eyes. And you get enough people waking up to this, and this problem goes away.
Yeah.
We're trying to do. But yeah,
when Pete speaks and goes into it, it makes it quite difficult for people to really understand it. And we have to break it down really, really simply so the average man or woman gets it. What I normally say is that the UK is not the physical land, right? It's a jurisdiction. It's got a DUNS number. It's a registered business. So the physical land is actually called something else. So when you register anything onto the UK jurisdiction, you've now given away power of attorney, controlling interest, etc., etc. And then what happens then? I'm a property investor, by the way, a landlord. So I'm very much used to this and seen it for its true light. So when you buy a house in the UK and you register it, you give away power of attorney. And the most important word is authority as well. You give away authority. And because you're giving away authority, then the local council is now the authority. This is where it kind of comes from, right? Because you're now registered within their county council, now the authority. And then the government are enforcing the council to follow policy, tax, inheritance tax, rules, social behaviour. And then we go back to the government again and look at some of those words and say legislation and policy. Well, policy is only found in contract. Now, the average man will go, where's the contract then? There is no contract. You're speaking nonsense. So we have to break it down again and say, well, okay, there's not a physical piece of paper like contract, but what you've done, you've agreed to the policy, right? And you've walked into their corporate jurisdiction because you've agreed to legal, there's a word legal titles like Mr. or surname or resident or dwelling. You know, these are all legal titles that pull you into their corporate jurisdiction. And then that's when they have authority over you. And that's when they can enforce.
When your surname's in capitals,
that's it.
That's your fiction.
That's the legal persona name, right?
So it doesn't.
Yeah. So the surname can be obviously all capitals. So anything that's in capitals is legally it's in Latin. It's in the language of Latin because it's capital letters. But this is the thing about our language. It's got different languages within our system. There's English, there's Latin, there's Dog Latin, there's various others, and it's all kind of mixed in. And this is why we're showing men and women how to read properly, right? Because like Pete said, we're all illiterate, and it's very challenging.
Is it all maritime law that we're under? Corporate maritime law?
It is.
Yes.
I just want to go back to the surname quickly because we just skipped a very, very important part of the surname. You see, the surname's not yours. You don't own it. It's a contraction of two other words, surety and name. Surname, surety name. It means you're the debtor. It means you are surety for another man's debts. It means you are surety for the government's debt. And when you use the surname and your national insurance number on a form where you register to vote, you are saying, yes, I will be surety for the UK corporation. That's what you're doing. So the surname's not yours. This is another reason why people don't own anything. You've heard of Klaus Schwab. Yeah, Klaus Schwab says you'll own nothing, you'll be happy. He's half right. No one today owns anything. They don't own the car. They don't own the house. They don't own a bank account.
That's why we're the legal keeper of the car, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Registered keeper.
Are you familiar with the Seska-V, Andrew? Has that come your way at all?
No, educate me.
Off you go, Pete.
Oh, SESTA-KV. We can look this up. There's the SESTA-KV Act 1666. It's actually on the government's website. I'll briefly touch on it. I don't want to go too deep, but essentially what happened, this is all tied into the Great Fire of London. Before the Great Fire of London, men, women had their own name, they had their own estates, they had their own property deeds, and they did physically own their property, houses, land, all this sort of stuff. After the Great Fire of London, which was set deliberately, it burned all the paper records, all gone. So then the monarch and the parliament stepped in and says, "Oh, we're going to help all of you people. You've lost all your paperwork, and we're going to create."
We just adjourn for a couple of moments. There's a bit of a noise from the bathroom.
Yeah,
going on.
We'll just hold fire there.
Yeah.
So just finish off on the SESTA-K. So what they ended up doing is, in layman's terms, is they got rid of all the paperwork and then turned everything into real estate. So what people started doing was buying titles of the King's estate, and that's how they did it. And the SESTA-KV is essentially a trust. It is used by the UK corporation government and the Bank of England, and it's used to access your foreign situs trust that was set up when you were born. Because when you were registered at birth, the Vatican came in, adopted you, in quotes, because your parents abandoned you in a state hospital, which is a founding hospital. And then the Vatican set up a foreign situs trust for you worth about $100 million. It's all dollars, by the way, so it doesn't matter if it's pounds, euros, whatever, it's all based in dollars.
Is that why people who are seeking bank recoupments and all that stuff, they have to apply to the IRS in America to get their money, even though they're British?
Yes, yes. So all the pieces are fitting together now. You're absolutely right. So basically, you've got a trust worth $100 million, and that is what you use throughout your life. You don't realize it. When you create mortgages, when you create bank loans and credit cards, this is where all the credit comes from. This is what the government uses. They access that trust fund through the SESTA KV, and they fund themselves using that. And I'll just finish off. Everybody was issued with a national insurance number. By the way, this is one of the things that sought me on this path to research this stuff. I got mine when I was 15. I thought, what's this number? I didn't ask for it. And I was just told, oh, it's insurance for when you get sick. No, it isn't. It turns out it's actually a bank account number. And that is the bank account number that you pay your taxes in to service the national debt, because you've decided that you've agreed to become the surety for the UK corporation and you've accepted the surname. So that's how it all works.
So if we set our establish ourselves as a sovereign living human being, do we have to drop our surname and have a new name?
Yes. In fact, you have to create your own name. This is one of the things that the average person doesn't realize, is they're walking around using another person's name. They're using a name given to them by the government. You have to create your own name. You probably heard the term, make a name for yourself. The only person who can make a name for yourself is you. So you have to create your estate. And the only person who can do that is you. So you do it with your own paperwork. You create it using an affidavit. You create your own estate. Your estate is where your name will be. So you'll be able to name yourself. On that estate that you've created, you'll have your actually family crest. The average person doesn't even know they're supposed to have a family crest. They're walking around using the crest from the House of Commons. The average man is without a house. That's why they're under the House of Commons.
My surname's family crest, and the motto is Ni timiri ni timidi, neither recklessly nor fearfully.
You've got one. There you go. That's the name you should be using. So you've already got a family crest. That's the name you should be using. And of course, you've got coat of arms. You should have your own flag. See, everyone's flying the Union Jack. And I'm saying, please don't fly the Union Jack, because no one knows flag etiquette. They don't understand. If you fly another man's flag, you're under his authority. So, and the Union Jack is now a corporate logo. So if you fly the Union Jack, the police are supporting them.
You might as well have a flag with the golden arches on it then.
Correct, yeah. Go back to McDonald's. But that's what people are doing. Everyone's going around with the how
many people? I mean, I didn't know any of this until probably about 2 years ago, and I'd been an MP for like 14 years. Yeah. How many people at the top actually know all of this?
Oh yeah, at the top they know.
Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, knows how the scam works. I'm not sure she's bright enough. I don't. She wouldn't get her head around this. They could sell her anything, any old cob's wallop.
Some people don't want to get their heads around it either, do they? Some people are happy just to put their heads in the sand or receive the benefits of working for the other side.
Mark Twain that said it's easier to con somebody than persuade them they've been conned.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Can I, gents, can I just say, because we've been going for like 50 minutes, and I know, there was not a time limit, but I think we should go up for an hour. There's so much information that Pete and Karl can share, and I'm sure Andrew's aware of a lot of it. What do we want this meeting? What is the intention of this meeting, other than just meeting and having a chat?
I want to know what's the end game, Pete.
Yes, there you go.
The end game? Tell me what the end game is. Where are we aiming to be?
Right. One of the things we're trying to do is, number one, we've got to educate people. I can't get involved in anybody's commerce, right? This is one of the things that I've spoke to Karl about, and everyone on my staff, we cannot interfere in commerce. In other words, if someone wants to pay their council tax, I am not getting involved. If someone comes up to me and says, how do I get out of paying council tax? I'm going to say, I can't help you, because you've just said to me, how do I get out of it? Which means you've accepted the obligation to pay. And that's between you and the government. However, if someone comes up to me and says, I'm being extorted by some corporation that calls themselves the council, I can help you. So what we're trying to do is, we don't speak in public. We don't do the Tommy Robinson thing. We don't get a tannoy. We don't go into the city centre. We don't speak out, because that's violating commerce. Can't do that. So, but what we can do is educate people on the council tax fraud, for those who have woken up and they're no longer slave-minded. We're trying to help the farmers and say, look, you're actually being extorted because the inheritance tax is contractual. So we want to help those. We can only help those who ask for our help, and we'll put the effort in and learn this. That's all we can do. We can't. I'm trying to educate people and saying, don't storm 10 Downing Street. Don't do that. Don't fight the police. Don't do petitions or protests. This is the very worst thing you can do. We can do this peacefully, and we can do this with our own authority by serving notice on politicians to cease and desist. So I just mentioned the app. We've just released an app. So the app has the ability to record anyone who works for government, police officer, agent, whatever, doesn't really matter. And a series of questions will come up on the screen. So what we're going to be doing is anyone who's going to be on the receiving end of a criminal act will be able to record it, use it for a legal case. And the idea is we can work with the government, I don't mind, but the government has got to make sure their employees are behaving themselves. And if they're not, we're going to expose this. So the end result is to get government out of our lives. Go away, thank you very much. I don't need you for a lot of things. Disappear, thank you very much. And bring back peace and bring back prosperity. I want business to back into this country. I want businessmen to come back in.
It's impossible when you've got electricity bills. You can't make anything in this country and sell it around the world. Our electricity is the most expensive in the world. It's 5 times more expensive than China and 4.5 times more expensive than India.
Yes.
And I absolutely predicted this for some time. When Starmer went and did that trade deal with India where he took the tariff off motor cars, that's to facilitate the movement of Land Rover Jaguar's production to India. So they'll be able to sell the cars back to us on low tariffs.
Yes. Which
we won't have any manufacturing left in this country. And I honestly think that Rolls-Royce Aviation won't be far behind.
Yes, I think you're right. That's going to be gone as well.
And of course, a bit like the Chagos Island deal, which is an amazing deal where Starmer's decided without any debate in Parliament and any vote that he's going to give UK overseas territories to Mauritius, a country who never owned the Chagos Island or ever had any claim on it, and give them 35 billion of taxpayers' money.
Mm-hmm.
And the person doing the legals for the Mauritian government is an old friend of Mr. Starmer's from law school.
It's funny that, isn't it? It's funny.
Well, I mean, I would suggest there's plenty of room for some kickbacks on 35 billion of.
I'm glad you said that.
We're giving you the asset that you've never owned, and we're going to give you a sweetener of 35 billion. Oh, and I think we're paying 100 million a week rent in the meantime.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is anything that doesn't add up. I mean, for me,
yes,
it's always fraud.
Yes,
it's always fraud. When things don't add up, it doesn't make commercial sense or any logical sense. If you look deep enough, there's always a fraud there.
That's right, and there is. I mean, just going back to the utility costs, people can't afford to put electric on and all the rest of it. But here's the thing, is utility companies don't sell gas and electricity.
They're brokers.
They're credit brokers. You can't be forced to buy debt. You can't do it. Even in their legal system, they can't do it. It goes against their own codes. So what people should be doing regarding their expensive electricity and gas bills is going, hang on a minute, am I actually buying gas and electric? Challenge the contract.
It's fascinating you say that because a lady who's an old friend of mine, I haven't seen her for 5 years, but she told me that she said she spoke to the electricity company. She lives up north.
Okay.
And she said, or the gas company, I can't remember which one it was, one of the utilities. And she said, the bills are just far too expensive. I'm not paying them.
Yeah.
And they agreed that she could pay 1/3 of the bill and they keep supplying. So they just agreed to knock her bill down by 2/3.
Yes.
Ability.
Yes.
And I know a few people that have done that. They've done a deal. They say, I can't afford to do it, but this is what I will agree to pay. And it's like, I don't know, £5 a month or something like that. keeps them at bay, which just says quite a lot about
It's quite a
the
lot about
cost of
they're not
electricity.
really what their real costs are if they can take
Exactly. So
£5
it's
a month.
another way to control us. Pete, let's go back and Karl to why yeah, I know the end game is obviously to have peace and a lovely planet to live on, but that's going to take a while. You wanted to bring the farmers in to this, and as I said at the beginning, Andrew mentioned Farmers Food and Freedom, which is not a member of, but he's involved in it, and he sent me the number for Liz Phillips. What's her connection?
She's the founder of it.
She's the founder of it. Okay, so I'm
You
very
know all
happy.
the contacts you need, and I will send you John Flanagan's number.
And he said David Baggett as well, whoever he might be.
Liz will put you in touch with him.
Okay, that's great. So Pete and Karl, you wanted to get involved with the farmers because obviously they're a little bit upset with what's going on now, and there's a number of farmers that I guess we could reach out to.
Absolutely. On this note, farmers are quite difficult to get in front of, and it comes down to trust. They don't know us, they don't trust us. We go and speak, and a lot of them don't want to listen. So this is the other reason why, it's very, very difficult to get in front of, should we say, some bigger names out there. Where people might feel they have some trust or connection with yourself, Andrew, or let's just put another name out there, Jeremy Clarkson, for example. A lot of people will follow him because he's got a massive social media platform and believe that he's there to do good amongst the farming community. So like Pete said, we can't go out and say, farmers, we can help you. They have to come to us. So every event that we go to, we're invited, and then we can do a share of knowledge. And it's down to those men and women to then come and join us and listen to some more information. We've got lots of stuff on our website where they can do that. So, for example, right now, we've got a lot of farmers that have come to us. They said, Karl, we need to have regular engagement with you. How can we do that? So we set up a Zoom call. So it's now happening every 2 weeks. It's completely free, don't charge, don't want money or anything like that, so they come onto the Zoom call and I talk them through how the entire system works. So we talk around language. It's really, really important about the difference between law and the legal system. We talk around contracts and notice writing, because it's really important that men and women understand that they are the author of their authority, which means they write down their notices.
So we are the creators, aren't we? We're not the debtors.
Correct.
Now, if you don't charge anything, how do you maintain your organisation?
Mm-hmm. Well,
you have subscriptions, don't you? You have subscriptions for other members.
I tell you what, we do. Most of the stuff we do is free. We do visits, events for free. Karl does his stuff for free. I do some local stuff here for free. The website does have online courses, so we do charge for those, although the information is free, so you don't have to do the course. Obviously, I'm an author of a few books, so I do sell a few books. And what we've just released is the app I spoke about earlier. So there is a subscription to the app, which is £20 a year. Just by downloading the app helps us, because I will then be able to create larger remedies. So one of the things I'd like to put together is legal teams to actually assist in the court, so we can have a real good pushback. So that's how we fund ourselves, but mainly we've got 75 plus people working for us, and it's all volunteers.
My personal experience, and I think that would be, and I've been under lawfare for 10 years.
Okay.
It would appear that normally your own legal team are actually on the other side. They're all in it together.
Yes.
Once they've decided who they want to win.
Yes.
Your best bits of evidence don't appear in the bundle, and they don't ask the right questions, and then it's almost like a sort of an agreement between all the parties, which you're not party to, that you're going to lose and pay a big bill.
Correct. Because
what I have found out is that it doesn't matter what side they're on, the lawyers always win.
They do. Then they take a commission even if you lose. So it's even in their best interest for you to lose. If you lose, the court makes an absolute massive amount of money, because they can securitize all the paperwork. When you go into these courts and they say you're going to plead guilty or not guilty, they're not talking about your guilt. They're saying, are you going to pay or not pay? They're talking about guilts as in bonds. Are you going to pay the guilt? That's what they're saying. Now, if you lose, they can securitize all your court papers and make millions out of you. I mean,
my experience of civil courts is that they are pretty much completely corrupt.
Yes.
Where you've got one judge making a decision, judge, jury, executioner. And what I do know is that Keir Starmer's now very keen on pulling away the last plank of our justice system with any fairness in it, which is jury trials. That's why it's created this massive backlog in the court system. So then they can say, oh, it'd be much faster and efficient now. We'll just have judges deciding if people are guilty or not. Well, I mean, all justice is over, and that's a complete breach of the English Bill of Rights. Where you only have your freedom taken away or a fine even inflicted upon you if a jury of your peers decides that you owe it.
Yeah, I know. This is getting out of hand. And we have to wake people up so they can see the corruption, which is what we do. I mean, there's thousands of people waking up to this. We just got to get the numbers up. There's going to be a tipping point.
When did you wake up to this, Pete? How long ago?
Oh, wow. I think I've been studying for about 30 years, but I think it was around 9/11 is when I really started to wake up, you know, when the towers came down. And this is when I started really looking into this thing and asking what's going on. And I discovered fiat currency and I go, hang on a minute, they're printing this out of thin air. I never understood the courts because I thought.
What's your view of these privately owned central banks that we've given the ability to create money from nothing and charge us interest on? I mean, what a racket that is. I mean, who agreed to that?
I know when I discovered that, because Bank of England, I thought, oh, yeah, that's England. No, it's privately owned.
And most people have no idea, do they?
Most people wouldn't even believe you.
No, they think you're bonkers.
No one would be that stupid as to allow these people to create money from nothing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you wonder why they're the most powerful people in the world.
Yeah.
Well, their ability to influence people, I've always said, you know, where we are now, I mean, half the people who came to help me over the last 5 years since I started speaking out, turned out they were working for the other side. And that's the half I've found. I mean, I haven't found all of them, obviously. I mean, they're more than that. And the problem is that they can bribe anybody because they've got the ability to create money from nothing. So it'd be like me trying to bribe people, offering to bribe people with buckets of air. It's nothing. You can have 50 buckets, have 1,000, have 1,000,000 buckets of air. It doesn't make any difference. I'll give you 1,000,000. That's what money is to the people who can create money from nothing.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in the world, most people have got a price.
Yes, there's a lot of sellouts out there. There is a lot of controlled opposition. There's people out there who's pretending to help the people, but
absolutely, there's a lot of that. And then there's the people who are compromised. I mean, when I was in Parliament, I mean, they offered me anything I want. I said, just tell us what you want. Anything I wanted in the world to sell the people out.
Yes.
And I was shocked. I'd never had anything like that before. And I said, is that the game we're playing? And they said, yes, it was. And I said, well, in that case, if that's the game we're playing, then I want the Prime Minister's resignation letter, because that's...
Yes.
And apparently that was one of the things I couldn't have.
It's funny that.
So I said, I didn't really want it. If that's the game we're playing, I don't want anything else, do I?
They'll just get another puppet in. Even if they did do that, get him to resign, they get another one in.
I kept thinking quite naively that if we kept getting rid of these crooked prime ministers, eventually we get a good one, but we never get offered a good one. You can't have a good one.
And they're all going to be corrupted, aren't they, at some stage? But you think
a representative of the Rothschilds told one of my staff that I'd got rid of 3 of their prime ministers. Not your prime ministers, their prime ministers.
Yes, that's right.
They
even tell you, don't they?
Puppets.
Yeah.
Can't make this up.
We're all here, for the right reason, I believe, and we all can do something. Just coming together, as Pete says, it's a numbers game. Ultimately, it's a numbers game, and more people that become aware of it will start.
I found the meeting today has been really, really interesting, and I'm going to send you some contacts through Karen, and perhaps we can have another meeting in a month's time or so.
Absolutely,
love to.
See how things are progressing.
Super.
Absolutely. Get me in front of as many farmers as possible.
Yeah, that's what we want. And the farmers, I think, is key. When Karl said the farmers, I thought definitely, because they're pissed off, they want to do something and they don't really know what to do they? So
absolutely, we lose our food industry. We're kind of.
But you can't go through everything we've talked about in the last hour in one session with anybody because they just
No.
can't get their head around it.
No.
I mean,
No, this is why we when we go and do an event, especially if it's farmer orientated, this is why we then bring them onto the Zoom call. So then they get me every 2 weeks, and we go through everything in detail. And it does take a long time to go through. I then do a lovely quiz with them as well. So I quiz them and to see how they're starting to learn the stuff as well. So yeah, they really enjoy it, which is great. We've got a good bunch, and it's growing and growing and growing, which is fantastic. But in terms of the average man and woman on the street, obviously we've got workshops across the country which are free. Basically, you can go to our workshops and learn the information. We've got the online course. We're networking all across the country. We've got events that we've been invited to as well. So everyone has got the chance to somehow network and get in front of us.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And be educated.
That's what people are just got to do.
I'm going to stop the recording now and then have a word with you afterwards. Okay. So cheerio for the